Welcome, everyone. I'm going to tune up my guitar and get started here. My name is David Fraser, and I'm happy to be hosting the 8th episode of Good News Only. It's going to be a great night tonight. We have special guest Will Greenblatt on the show. If you're with us, welcome. If you could send a little comment out to us. And by us, I mean myself, because I'm alone here in the studio by myself, because I'm self-isolating. Let's self-isolate together. We're going to start shortly. So shoot me a comment. Where are you? Where are you tuning in from? First comment gets a high five. Woo! Chris Berkman Bentley, you're the first. High five. Brian Rassman tuning in from a prison bathroom. Rampant COVID infection centers, those prison bathrooms. How's it going, Arthur Robinson? Laura Moffat from Wawa. Welcome. When your legs don't work like they used to before, and I can't sweep you off of your feet. When my hands don't play the strings the same way, I know you will still love me the same. How's it going, Jan? How's it going, Mary? Darling, I will be loving you till we're 17. In your heart, as if our last heart is 23. I'm thinking out loud, people fall in love in mysterious ways. Maybe it's all part of a plan. Maybe I fall in love with you every single day. I just want to tell you I am. So baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh darling, place your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud, baby, we found love right where we are. Hey Judy, hey Pauline. Welcome to the show. Just on a quick check, how's everybody feeling up there? Scale 1 to 10. 1 being terrible, 1 being prison bathroom COVID infection, 10 being ecstatic. You just invented the cure. Where are you? I'll be honest, I'm about a 7.3. 7.359, to be exact. How's it going, Peter Bethes? 11 is outside of the acceptable range. Sorry, buddy, you're a 10. Dave Kent, a 9. Brian, understandably, a 1. Chris Berkman Bentley, 9.9. Let's see if we can get that to a 10 tonight. De-enter, only a 5. My goal is at least a 7. AP-S from YouTube, you're a 6. We're bringing that to a 6.8. Hey Jan. Hey Bonnie. Hey Georgios. We're gonna meld this into. Marvin Gaye, just to illustrate how much Ed Sheeran ripped off Marvin Gaye. Cause I've been really trying, baby, trying to hold back this feeling for so long. And if you feel what I feel, baby, come on, let's get it on. Woo. Let's get it on. Let's love, baby. Let's get it on. Woo. Let's get it on. Never grow old, it's evergreen. Darling, your heart forever in my memory. I'm thinking out loud. People fall in love in mysterious way. Maybe it's all part of a plan. Continue making the same mistake, hoping that you'll understand. So baby, now take me into your loving arms. Kiss me under the light of 1,000 stars. Oh darling, blaze your head on my beating heart. I'm thinking out loud, baby, we found love right where we are. Let's get it on. We found love right where we are. Let's get it on. We found love right where we are. All right, welcome everyone. This is the 8th edition of Good News Only, and we got 2 more episodes. Tomorrow is going to be All Request Friday, the 2nd edition of All Request Friday. So if you have requests, I'll be open to them. I'll have lots of time to do them tomorrow night because there's no guest. And then Saturday, we have an amazing surprise mystery guest all the way from out west. I can't give more than that away, but it's going to be awesome. And tonight, we have Will Greenblatt on the show. Really awesome interview I did with him 2 days ago. So I'm super excited to have that. And here's the deal, guys. If you're loving the show, the best thing to do is share it. You may be surprised to learn we have no advertising buzz at show. Basically, if you share it, it gets out there. If you don't, it doesn't. And I'm pretty confident I'm going to be able to make my commitment of 10 shows, daily shows, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we're going to see where it goes after Saturday. I'll reassess. So if you're loving it, the best thing to do, the best way to pay for it is we don't accept any money, so share. And speaking of sharing, we're going to have a thing called sharing time in a few minutes. And what I'd like you to think about is some small wins, a small win or some small wins that you had today. It could be something small like, hey, I got out of the house and went for a walk or whatever you did, a small win. You could be prepared to share that. And then secondly, what's something that you've learned that's helpful or might be helpful to other people in Ontario right now? So something like universally helpful and then something like a small win in your own personal life. And I'm going to play a few songs and then we'll get to Will. This is dedicated to Al William. He's in a correctional institute. Breaking rocks in the hot sun. I fought the law and the law won. Making money as I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I left my baby and I feel so bad. I guess my race is run. She's the best girl that I ever had. but I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I needed money 'cause I had none. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. Robbing people with a 6-gun. I fought the law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. I left my baby and I feel so bad. I guess my race is run. She's the best girl that I ever had. The law and the law won. I fought the law and the law won. Sing along if you know it. I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. I've been trying to do it right. I've been living a lonely life. Sleeping in my bed. So show me family. I don't know where I belong. I don't know where I went wrong. I can write a song. I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Oh, I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Oh, I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Hey! Chinatown, you'd be standing on Canal in Valerie, standing next to me. I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Oh, I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Oh, yeah. Song. Is bleeding out. I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet heart. I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet heart. I belong with you, you belong with me, my sweet. Hey! All right, without further ado, let's get to my awesome interview with Mr. Will Greenblatt. Hi, everyone. It's David, and I'm excited to be introducing Will Greenblatt. He formed Out Loud Speaker School, and we've met through a mutual entrepreneurship program that we're both in. And I'm really excited because I think he's got a really great background. Basically, what he does is he takes business owners and people that are having trouble communicating, and he helps them using his background in acting, kind of present themselves better, communicate better. And I thought, Will, you'd be the perfect person to kind of help people in this process where we're locked inside and we can only communicate over video. I thought you'd be a great person to kind of help. So thanks for being on the show.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Right on. So tell us the backstory. How did you start this school? What's the backstory that created this?
Well, interestingly, there's a real tie-in to this current period that we're in of social isolation, because this company was kind of formed out of my own experience of social isolation. I started my first venture in China, which was an English language school and training academy. In the midst of that, I got hurt and I had a really bad back injury, and I was trying to get better in China. It wasn't working, so I had to come back to Canada. And then I realized like I wasn't going anywhere for about a year, 6 to sort of 12 months, they told me. And during that recovery period, I was bedridden, taking medication. It was really brutal. And I had little to no contact with the outside world. And some people would come visit, but it was quite isolating. And I had a huge, life-changing experience of anxiety, depression, uncertainty about the future. And some really strong principles helped get me out of that. And then from there, I started Out Loud shortly after, a lot of which was based on these principles of mental health, positive self-talk, optimism, all of these things which I think are essential for good communication.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So tell us about just some practical steps that you did. You're isolated. You're hurt. What are some of the practical things that you did?
So the main thing, what the revelation for me was that the thoughts could actually affect your physical health outcomes, and that was a big change for me. I didn't really believe in that. I thought that was a little new agey or a little unrealistic and unscientific. I
It
thought
does
at the
sound a little
time.
woo-woo, Will. I'll be honest. I'm skeptical,
Exactly.
but tell me
Yeah.
more.
Totally. I think of myself as kind of a science-based, logic-based thinker, and usually I look for evidence. But I was told by a spine specialist at Toronto Western that, listen, you have to take care of your mental health in order to get out of chronic pain. Chronic pain comes from the amplification and the distortion in your brain of pain signals that may no longer be related to an actual tissue damage or any kind of structural damage to your body itself. It could just be a repetition of your brain, your neurons interpreting pain signals that are no longer real technically, but of course to you they feel real. So I started doing CBT and mindfulness meditation
What is
together.
CBT? What's CBT? It sounds like a seed oil.
Yes, CBT, not to be confused with CBD, which is an oil or something that people can smoke and can actually help with your anxiety, but depending on what you're into.
Yeah.
But this one is cognitive behavioral therapy, which is basically a process of looking at your thoughts and countering them with more logical, more rational, more kind thoughts. So you look for where your thoughts can be negative or too dramatic or too self-immolating, and you counter them with more positive thoughts. So, for example, if you're having a tough time, your thought may be, this is going to last forever. And then you learn how to identify that mistake, which is this is all or nothing thinking, or this is catastrophization, or whatever the fallacy is. There are 11, I believe. And then you go, okay, what's a more rational thought than that? Okay, this may last for a little bit, but it's not going to be forever.
Right.
Things will change. Right?
Yep.
And I mean, the simplest way I can boil it down to is talk to yourself like you would talk to your friend, like your best friend. Supportive, kind, non-judgmental. It's a really great hack. Just say, hey, listen, if you're having a negative thought, if you're beating yourself up, or if you're having anxious, depressed thoughts about how bad everything is, you can't focus, you're beating yourself up for your inability to deal with the current situation, just think, would I talk to my friend like this? Would I say to my friend, hey, you suck. Your there's no hope for you in the future, or this is going to last forever. You would never do that to your friend, right? You would be a lot more positive and encouraging and compassionate. So that's how I encourage everybody to talk to themselves.
That's really
And then
good
just
advice.
to add on to that, the mindfulness meditation piece is more like a practice to the theory of CBT. So CBT is very much a thinking and writing exercise, and then mindfulness meditation is an experiential process by which you sit, you breathe, you pay attention to your body, you pay attention to your breath, and you pay attention to the sounds around you, and you really quiet down that anxious mindset. And then it allows you to really take on some of these concepts of CBT. So doing them together is really, really powerful.
Yeah, it's funny how little of our self-talk is conscious. I think is what
Yeah.
you're getting at, right? And you know, whether it's prayer or meditation or just sitting and thinking, you can call it what you want. Ultimately, it's about like trying to like observe thoughts as they kind of drift into your mind. And it's funny how so many of them are just automatic, just things that just kind of float in from our subconscious mind. And um, is it fair to say that CBT involves a lot of basically just observing your thoughts so that you can then correct them? Is that kind of the idea?
Absolutely. And
Okay.
so again, that is the more academic side of things. So you notice a thought and then you write it down. There's a very simple template that I can actually share with you and you can share with your listeners if you want, of just three columns. One is negative thought. The middle column is what's the thinking fallacy, which you can look up, and they're very intuitive. Once you read them, you're like, oh yes, I have these thoughts all the time.
Yeah.
And then the third column is the rational counter thought.
Okay, cool. That is
And then you
so
just
let me just reiterate that. So you have the negative thought, you have, you know, why, what is the error in judgment, or what's the illogical fallacy that thought contains or is contained in that thought,
mhm.
and then thirdly, you know, what's a rational or more positive response? Is that the three columns?
Exactly.
Cool.
That's it. And so you don't even need a template. You can just write that down in three columns on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then as you're sitting there, you pick up your sheet and you go, "Oh my God, I just had the thought that my partner is getting annoyed with me and doesn't want anything to do with me." Then you go, "Okay, what's that judgment? What's that error in thinking?" And there's a whole bunch. There's as I said 11, I believe. So that one could be all or nothing thinking. So the more rational counter thought is they're temporarily annoyed because we're crammed in on top of each other and neither of us have been able to leave the house for a while. So they're momentarily annoyed just because anybody would be, and we've had these moments.
Yeah.
They're going to be fine in 10 minutes. Let's just relax and wait and give them some patience, right? And then just the process of doing that again and again, it starts to become more automatic. You don't need to write all the time.
Right. Okay, that's super
Yeah.
helpful advice. So, what are some other practical things in terms of just like, you know, whether it's full on, you know, helping with your thought process, or if it's even just more practical, like, hey, I've got to talk to my friends and family, because I know a lot of what you do is helping people present.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's three basic things. Like there's so much stuff I could go into, but I want to keep it short. So the three basic things are just think about your face, your body, and your voice as you're talking to people. Too often, I think we only think about what the words we are saying are, right? We think, okay, I need to say A, B, and C. I'm going to say A, B, and C, and then they either hear me or they don't or whatever, but I just got to convey information. But of course, that's not how human beings have evolved. We've evolved to be social creatures and to look for narrative and look for patterns and look for facial expressions and body language to see who's a friend, who's an enemy. So all of this stuff is very important with how you communicate. So by just thinking about your face, your body, and your voice, think about what what do I want to do to the other person when I'm speaking to them? Do I want to make them feel nervous? Do I want to make them feel angry? Probably not. Usually, especially in this time, we want to spread some positivity and some optimism. So just think about your face. What could I do to make my face more engaged and make the other person feel a bit better? Well, what about my eyebrows? The difference between this, oh, I'm really happy to talk to you right now, and the difference between this, I'm really happy to talk to you right now. All of a sudden, it changes everything. And the other person kind of goes, oh, I guess they're happy to talk to me. And they feel a little better. You sit a little taller. And all this stuff is connected as well. If you notice when my eyebrows went up, my face kind of went up. I didn't even mean to smile, but that's the consequence of starting to engage your facial muscles.
Yeah.
And then with your body, sometimes, especially during this, we sit like this and we're just like, oh, everything sucks. So thinking about connecting your feet to the floor, having a nice tall posture, being engaged, using your hands, getting your hands up into the camera so people can see them. It just creates more dynamism, more action, more liveliness, which is, a nice benefit for the person watching. All of this is really important. And of course, last is your voice. I'm hearing so much of this right now, which is totally understandable. But I get on Zoom with people and they go, yeah, so how you doing? And just in that first intro sentence, I just hear the weight of the world crushing on them, and I kind of think, oh man, maybe I should, be a little more depressed or anxious right now because maybe I'm not thinking about all the bad stuff that's going on. That's what this stuff does. It spreads, right?
Yeah.
Positivity spreads and anxiety spreads. So if you can just infuse your voice with a little more volume, a little more pitch, right? Thinking about hitting all those notes, almost like music, more inflection in the voice, more facial expressiveness, and more physical expressiveness. It will have a ripple effect to everybody you talk to. And if you have any convincing you have to do right now, any motivating you have to do as a team leader, as a business owner, anything providing value, or just getting
even just as
people's
a dad,
attention.
like, hey guys, let's go see the cows and horses. Let's get out of the house, everyone. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
there's a sales job you have to do every day with your kids or with your spouse or with your whoever you're living with. There's a sales job of like, hey, let's get out of bed and let's go and do something productive. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, and the difference between let's go, guys, come on, get out of the house, come on, I said get out, there's that. And then there's, come on, guys, let's go, let's do it. Obviously, everybody's going to respond to different energies in different ways, but just starting to pay attention to face, body, and voice is a huge step to communicating more effectively and spreading the kind of energy you want,
Okay,
especially through
this is gold. This is gold,
technological
Will. I absolutely think this is great. I always like to try to let's bring down the esoteric and let's bring it down to a usable chunk. I was wondering if you'd be open to the idea of maybe critiquing me, this guy. Let's just pretend it is the sales job of, hey, let's get out of the house, kids. It's as I don't know if it's cold. You're in Toronto, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got snow on the ground here yesterday and today, and I don't know if that's true in Toronto. But how do I sell the let's get out and go for a walk to the kids scenario? And maybe I'll try it. Take A, you can critique me and rip me apart. Just flog me if you could, and
Absolutely.
then we'll see if we can get a better take B. Is that fair?
Great.
Okay, great. I'm loving this free service here by Will. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So kids, we gotta get out, get some fresh air. Let's go down and see the cows and the horses down the street. Like we do on most days.
I don't want to.
You're right.
I don't wanna.
Quite frankly, I don't either. No. Yeah. Okay. I know you might not want to, but I think as soon as we get out there, you're going to be glad we went.
Great. Okay. I always start with the positive as a coach.
Okay.
Great.
Not much,
great
but let's try.
Pitch. Great pitch to your voice.
Okay.
I teach something called the speech settings, which are like 8 principles. Again, something I can share with your audience. It's a template that we've done of all these different technical elements of your speech between 10 and 0. Your pitch was great. It was up there at like a 6.5 or a 7. You're like, hey, kids, high pitch usually means excitement, curiosity, wonder, joy. So by pitching your voice up there, automatically your kids are going to be feeling a little more excitement. What happened was, though, you kind of lost it once you started getting into your message. And what I was getting from you was a bit of like, I know this is kind of a tough sell, so I don't want to overdo it.
Okay.
Let's see if you can just be unbridledly joyful and excited about, like, you are so excited to see the cows and the horses. You can't wait to see those cows and the horses. Let's try it like that.
Okay. Take 2.
And it's not for them, it's for you.
Okay. Take 2. Guys, we got to go see the cows and the horses. I'm so excited. Remember that horse we saw yesterday? I'm sure he's out. I'm sure he's missing us. We got to go see him right now.
Really, really good. Really, really great. Fantastic energy, fantastic pitch, fantastic eyebrow, facial, hands engagement.
Okay.
One thing I want to hear is the keywords pop out. Cows and horses. When we articulate and emphasize keywords, not only do we actually understand it better, but we actually care more about what is happening, because by emphasizing, you cause the listener's ear to perk up and go, oh, what are they talking about? And when our ear perks up, we think in our brain, this must be important. And when we think this must be important, we're more likely to buy in. So I want you to do exactly the same energy, same pitch, same facial and physical engagement, but I want to hear cows and horses emphasize. Paint the picture of cows and horses in my head with those words. Slow down clearly, loudly on the words cows and horses. Make sense?
All right.
Great. Let's hear it.
Guys, we got to go down to see the cows and the horses. The cows and the horses. The cows and the horses. We got to go see them.
Great.
You see?
Yeah.
Okay. Because here's the thing.
Yeah.
They're there.
Fantastic.
They're missing us. They're out in the field. They can't wait to see us, and I can't wait to see them. Come on, let's go.
I'm in.
Okay.
As your kid, I am in. I don't even know what we're doing, what else we would be doing right now. That's exactly what I want to be doing.
All right.
And really that's it, is if you ever want to convince, motivate, inspire, get somebody to do something or buy into something or agree with something, it all has to start from you. They have to see your belief, your buying in, your conviction, your excitement. If you are not excited, why would they be, right?
That's a good,
If
great,
you're
great
not
point.
motivated, why would they be? If you're not inspired by an idea, why should they be, right? It all has to start with you.
Yeah, that's a great point. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that practical tips. Um, I'd like to wrap things up and just once again say thanks so much for your time.
Yeah.
If you could, what is something uplifting, encouraging, or positive that you have for hope for the future right now?
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be positive and optimistic about, which sounds messed up because a lot of people are really struggling right now. And that's important to acknowledge, I think, as well, because, there can be a bit of a cultiness around positive thinking, which never allows for anyone to express any kind of negative thoughts or any kind of worry that they're having, which is not healthy either, right?
Yep.
It's important to acknowledge that people are suffering, that we're suffering, that this stuff is real. However, I think one thing that is really, really great to see is human beings understanding what actually brings us together, which is our social, our emotional, and our interconnected, which I guess is the same thing as social lives. This idea that it's important to have emotional connections with people. It's important to take care of your mental and physical health. It's important to understand that there's more important things than just making as much money as possible and hoarding it for yourself and your family, right? We're really seeing an amazing sense of community, self care, community care, people reaching out to one another, people trying to provide value to each other. It's like we're seeing a model for how capitalism could be a little better, right? Like we're seeing this improved version of things. I think people are making content that's actually for value and not just for their own attention. And I think that's really fantastic. And I think that the more we think about what makes us human, the more we look at our empathy and realize that everybody on the planet is going through the same thing. And we can use that as a real glue to bring us together. I think that makes me really, really happy. And I don't think we're really ever going to be the same after this in a good way.
Well, I think that's a great positive outlook on things. Will, I really appreciate your time once again. If you have time tonight, it'd be great if you could, tune back in. Maybe we'll Skype you back in and take specific questions from the audience if you're open to that.
Absolutely. I'd
Okay,
love to.
great. Okay, we'll do that towards the end of the show. And hopefully it doesn't crash my computer. But either way, thank you so much for your time. Really, really appreciate it. Will Greenblatt from Out Loud Speaker School. Definitely check him out if you're in business or just need to improve your chops. He'd be the perfect guy to talk to. And once again, thanks for your time. We'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Thanks for having me, David.
Okay.
Take care.
Cheers. Bye for now.
Bye.
All right. What an awesome interview. We're gonna get it going on, but before we get to a few more music and then an interview like Will live, I thought you guys could share a small win you had today and something helpful everyone can benefit from. So, small win I had today. We didn't go see the cows and the horses, but we went for a drive. My daughter and my whole family went for a drive actually, and we had pizza. So that was a huge win. And also, Jer from Periscope just chimed in with this is a little bit of a sidebar, but what are your top 5 Emilio Estevez movies in order? Obviously, Jer, Mighty Ducks, D2, The Mighty Ducks, and D3, The Mighty Ducks. Are there any other Emilio Estevez movies even worth commenting on? I don't think so. Somebody else earlier I shared some wins. I'm going to share that. Okay. This is APS. Small win. Managed to pay all my bills this month, but barely. Only $32 left in my account. We're rooting for you. That sounds tough. But it's a small win. So thanks for sharing that. So yeah, if you guys have any small wins you want to share or something helpful everyone can benefit from, this is the time to do it. Or if you want to just chime in on the Emilio Estevez movie question, that's also fine. This is a really cool comment that Allison had about the interview with Will. Very helpful discussion. I had a lot of terrible thoughts during the last years, and I don't know how I would have survived without his support of my project manager. So that's very cool. One person can make all the difference in mental health. Very cool. People, a lot of really positive comments from Steph, Mayer, and Carol Eaton, and just a ton of people just being like, "This is great information." Trish says, "I don't know about you, but I want to go see those cows and horses." Amazing. Cool. Allison, small win, groceries. 2, game plan regarding See above. I think you're talking about your garden, which is pretty cool. Also had a bigger comment about her garden. I'm thinking about my garden right now too, getting some soil together. So Patricia says, I went for a very long walk today and listened to some red-winged blackbirds and saw robins and a pileated woodpecker. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but that's cool. Steph says, small win, which was big. Hugs through the windows with my friends. Oh man, it was helpful and a benefit to me. That's good. Any human contact right now is so valuable. Dave says, I got out for an early evening walk in 15-degree temperature. Was so worth getting out for fresh air. Attaboy. Yeah, very cool. All right. Keep sharing those wins. I'm going to play a song. When I'm walking, I stop my stuff when I'm so strung out. High as a kite, I just might stop to check you. Oh, let me go. Like a blister in the sun, let me go. Make hands and know you're the one. Hey! My body and heat, got stinking machines. I don't even know why. My girlfriend, she's at the end, she is starting to cry. Let me go on, like a blister in the sun. Let me go on. Big hands and know you're the one. Body and heat, I stain machines. I don't even know why. My girlfriend, she's at the end. She is starting to cry. I'm so strung out. High as a kite, I just might stop to check. Oh, let me go on. Like a blister in the sun. Let me go on. Big hands and know you're the one. Alrighty. You're to stay here. Now turn right back around. Stay here. Oh, and I'll turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Baby, I got your number. I know that you got mine. Called you, now I've called too many times. You can call me, baby. You can call me anytime. You got to call me, yeah. Give me one reason to stay here, and I'll turn right back around. Turn right back around. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. give you what you need. Said if you fall, I can love you. Oh, gonna give you what you need. Oh, I'm sure won't you go wasting around, wasting my precious energy. Said I don't want to leave you lonely. You gotta make me change my mind. Because I told you that I love you, and there ain't no more to say. All right. You haven't heard this song, but in my opinion, it's one of the best songs I've heard in a long while. My brother and me, we used to climb this tree, and we were gonna build a little clubhouse about 10 feet off the ground. We drew the whole thing up. We needed wood and my dad's truck, but he was out of work that summer, and the truck only had one gear. He said, we'll do it next year. My buddies and me, we used to have this dream. We were gonna rent this cabin way up in Montana. Yeah, and we were gonna fish. We had the date all picked. My old man got sick and the plan kinda disappeared. But we'll do it next year. Another day down, another week gone. We're always talking about tomorrow. You can't beg, steal, or borrow, or make time. So you make plans and hope for the best. Life moves on so damn fast. Another 12 months flies on by, and you're still here. But it's never quite next year. Little boy and me, we went out to eat. He says I can't wait till next year. And when I asked him why, he says we going camping. We're going to the ball game. We'll do all them other things you said we'd do next year. So when is it next year? Another day down, another week gone. We're always talking about tomorrow. You can't beg, steal, or borrow, or make time. So you make plans and hope for the best. Life moves on so damn fast. Another 12 months flies on by, and you're still here. But it's never quite next year. My old man, he was fading fast. He says, I think I'd like to see that Grand Canyon. So we just left, packed up a car and went. And I called in sick to work, and we drove till 3 a.m. There ain't no next year. Another day down, another week gone, always just talking about tomorrow. You can't beg, steal, or borrow, won't make time. So you make plans, you hope for the best. Life moves on so damn fast. Another 12 months flies on by and you're still here. But it's never quite next year. No, it's never quite next year. Never quite next year. Alrighty. That's all the songs I had planned, but I know Will is excited to get back on the call. There's lots of cool things to share before we get back to Will. This is Vera Sohn says, Win. Talking to my granddaughter who will be heading soon from Ronald McDonald, RMC? Not Ronald McDonald House, sorry. RMC, Kingston for the summer. Found out that you're going to have 2 little boys. That's cool. Very cool. Somebody tuned in from Portugal. Very cool. Welcome. Word's getting out about these good news. This is very cool. Keep sharing it, guys. Thank you. Somebody's getting lots of time to knit, they said. And, all right. Royal Military, that makes more sense. The Royal Military College, RMC. I knew that. I was testing you guys. All right, let's see if we can get Will back on. And if you guys have any questions specifically for Will. So he runs a speaker school. I think he's got a background in acting. Super, super cool guy. I'm going to get him in on this call. So just bear with me. See if I can get him in. And tomorrow night we have all request night. So if you have a request that you've been dying for me to play, tomorrow night is that night. I'm just going to play a straight 45 minutes to an hour of just pure tunes. There shall be no others. There will just be me playing tunes. So if you could bear with me, I'm going to see if I can get good old Will Greenblatt on this phone. Give it a try. And I will take requests at the end. We'll have time for a couple of requests. So if you got requests, let's get it done. Hold on, Will's not online. Let me try him again. I'm going to text him. Just bear with me. So yeah, if you got requests, just go to request.goodnews.only and you'll find all the songs I know. And that would be wonderful. And we'll have time for just a few. So if you got requests, start typing them in as well. If I know them, I'll play them. If I don't, I won't play them. I just texted Will. See if I can get him on. It's sometimes possible, sometimes not. People are busy. I get it. I'm going to try him one more time. But if not, let's do some tunes. If you got a song you want to hear, type it in. I do not know Beautiful Crazy. Oh, I think Will's getting online. These are all great requests, guys, but let's try to pick songs I actually know. If you go to request, I know like 500 songs. There should be Jeremiah was a bullfrog. Wake Me Up. I can play Wake Me Up. Making my way through the darkness, blinded by a beating heart. Let my journey win, but I know where it starts. And tell me I'm too young to understand. Say I'm caught up in a dream. Oh wait, Will's coming in. And love is pride. So wake me up when it's all over. How's it going, Will? When I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. I've had the chance to travel the world, but I only have 2 hands. I hope I get the chance to travel the world. I don't have any plans. I wish that I could stay forever this young, not afraid to close my eyes. Life's a game made for everyone, and love is a prize. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was lost. So wake me up when it's all over, when I'm wiser and I'm older. All this time I was finding myself, and I didn't know I was
Woo! Hey, Dave.
All right, Will, you're back, buddy.
Can you hear me?
We can, yeah.
Okay, great.
I'm just gonna stop my my little click thing here. Utility erase. All right. So, people were very, very much impressed with the interview. I did edit out the swearing.
Yeah.
About half an hour.
Yeah. Makes sense.
But yeah, if you could, if anyone has any live questions for Will, it'd be fantastic. If they could just belt them out, it'd be wonderful. So, Will, tell us a little bit about how, like, your background, because we didn't really go into like the acting element of things.
Sure. So yeah, I started as a child actor, which I kind of fell into because my parents and my older sister were in the business. So I actually just kind of inherited my father and my sister's agent and went up for a big feature film when I was 7 years old, and I happened to get it, and it was
Which
like a
film
big
was this?
lead in a feature film. So kind of out of nowhere, it started this child acting career. And
What's the
then
show? So
I
what's
sort
the
of
film?
acted pretty consistently until about high school, where I slowed down a little bit to try to have a more normal childhood, which my mom thought was very important. But I still did some, Disney Channel stuff, and I just assumed that would be my career. And so I went to theater school to kind of, try to hone my craft and learn some real acting skills other than sort of outside the film and TV industry. And then when I was at theater school, I just hated the way they taught us. It was so militant, and it was so sort of our way or the highway. And they didn't allow us to ask sort of any questions or tell us why we were doing what we were doing. And it was very frustrating. Sorry, my Roomba's going off there. So I was so kind of jaded by that experience, I ended up quitting. And that's what brought me into entrepreneurship.
Okay, so what was the feature film that you were in back in the day?
That was a film called Homecoming. It was actually with Anne Bancroft. Rest in peace. She was an amazing woman. She was very nice to me when I was a 7-year-old kid.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it didn't end up doing very well as as a film, but it had a lot of money behind it and some a name like Anne Bancroft, who was in The Graduate and won an Oscar, I believe, for it. And so it was kind of a big thing to be sort of thrown into, especially for my first audition even, and that's sort of what started my career. But yeah, that was that was the beginning of it. I think it was kind of all downhill from there.
Did you bank a ton of money and then like at 18 you had this huge endowment fund?
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
So,
sweet.
what happened was I was able to graduate from theater school debt free, unlike, almost all my friends who had to go into debt and take out student loans for their post secondary education. So I was lucky enough to not have to do that, although my theater school diploma is pretty much useless as a degree. It's not a BA. It's nothing. It's not recognized as any kind of real degree. So, that's there's a trade off there.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah,
it kind of the Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away when it comes to that kind
exactly.
of thing. Okay,
Yeah.
very cool. Okay, so here's a question from Dave Kent.
Hmm.
This is his question. He says, "Will, do you offer workshops? And if the answer is yes, can I private message you on Messenger? I guess is the question."
Yes, absolutely. I do workshops and one-on-one coaching as well. And of course, now with COVID-19 going on, it's all virtual for the moment. But yes, absolutely. And please do message me.
Okay, cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome. What other questions we have for Will here, guys? We got a professional. He's obviously, I mean, the cows and the horses message was a complete 180.
Yeah.
People were
How did your kids deal with that, by the way? Were they impressed?
Oh yeah, I definitely have been practicing. Like we've been going to see the cows and horses every day. So we interviewed I think last week, right? At some point, or
Yes.
yeah, it was earlier this week, I should say. So yeah, we've gone every day except for today. I took them for a drive instead. So
Okay.
yeah, we kind of drove by the cows and horses and waved.
But you've noticed that you've been able to convince them to do what you would like them to do with a lot more confidence and ease, can we say? Or how are you finding that?
Yeah, I mean, I just got to first. I got to realize, okay, I got to sell it to myself first, right?
Yeah,
Ultimately, the sale starts with
always.
me. And I got to decide, okay, like, is this something that I can put my energy behind? And so what I found is I have less requests on my kids now. Because I know, okay, I got to really gear this up. I can't just have these like, half requests. I got to make sure if I'm going to go in, I'm going to go all in. So I got to think about it a little more ahead of time.
That's a key thing. If I can jump in there, that's a very key thing. I don't know if you've ever had this experience as a listener, but if somebody's presenting something to you, there's a moment that they start to falter where you feel the kind of hyena inside you go, "Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm not going to listen to you." And so it's really important that you can feel as much conviction as you possibly can when you're speaking about an idea, especially something that you're having to pitch.
Yeah,
And the more conviction you can bring it forward with, the less people are going to have that moment where they zoom in on your lack of conviction to throw your idea out the window.
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's something that you can always, I think, get more passionate, more conviction, and more hyper focused in on.
Yeah.
Like even when you're presenting, like, so there's kind of like two levels. At the start of an idea, maybe you're really excited about it, but don't have the articulation very well. And
Yeah.
then there's like, you get to the point where it's like you have the articulation, but then it starts to feel like, okay, I'm just reading a script here. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So I noticed with my wedding business, I've got that whole conversation. It's very conversational in the way I talk to clients or potential clients, but I have to be very cognizant of like I got to be in the moment. I got to be here and actually talking to them because I can run this conversation. I've had hundreds of them, and I got to
Yeah.
make sure it's fresh and that I'm present and excited about each person I talk to. Right. So
Yeah. I think the difficulty in that is as you say, doing something that you've said a million times, and there's a couple things going on there which make that really difficult. One of which is what I call daily jargon fatigue, which is a technical term. And basically, your daily jargon is everything you say on a daily basis that your mouth and brain kind of get tired of saying. So, for example, I don't know what kind of phrases or taglines you use for the wedding business. Do you have any that float to the top of your mind now?
oh geez.
Things that you say every day that when you're trying to sell this?
Well, I always say the question I always leave everybody with is like, okay, let's pretend it's 3 years after the wedding, and you're
Hmm.
thinking back to the night. What one or two or three things have to happen for both of you to be able to say, like, yeah, that was the wedding we were going for?
Great. Yeah. So this line of questioning, this sort of phrasing, you probably say similarly to exactly the same every time.
Yep.
So what's really interesting is stopping yourself and actively working on slowing down. when you say that daily jargon. So usually the daily jargon is actually the most important stuff that you're saying because it's the stuff you repeat all the time. So obviously it has a lot of value to be said again and again. But what happens when we say it again and again is that our brain goes, oh, I don't want to say this thing again, so I'm just going to kind of blurt it out and run through it because I'm bored of it.
Yep.
So slowing down and actually tying your brain into what is the real meaning of this? I'm not just going to recite these words. I'm actually going to think about, okay, 3 years from now, well, what does that look like? You've had the wedding. And by slowing down, you actually give yourself and your listener time to really take in the reality of what's being said. I always think there's like kind of two levels to words. There's the kind of meaning where you can skim it and go, oh, okay, I know what this means. And then there's the system 2 brain that kicks in. I don't know if you've ever read Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow.
I've not.
It's a really fantastic book for anyone looking to learn more about communication and how the brain processes information. It's a must read, absolute must read. Okay. And he talks about how there's 2 brains basically within each brain. There's the system 1, which is the fast, quick, blink of an eye decision making that our brain does, which is full of bias and full of, shortcuts and everything, but can be very useful. And then there's the system 2, which is the slower, more logical, more rational, taking all the information, trying to make a decision. So it's really important to slow your own brain down so you're not speaking in a system 1 place and to a system 1 place. When you slow down, you give the system 2 brain a chance to really kick in and go, okay, what is he actually saying? Or what are they actually talking about here? And you really give your brain more of a chance to absorb the information.
Yeah. Okay, here's a question. This may not be And once again, this is past 9:30, so we're there's some great questions here, and so I'm not going to jump off. But this is more of a general question. I'm not sure this is something that is more of a question maybe for Will or maybe actually last night's guest, which is an actual counselor. But Judy says, how would you encourage someone to take counseling, and would you recommend private one as opposed to group counseling? So is that the context of like improving your speaking skills or improving your presentation skills, Judy, or is that in the context of like counseling for, there's a myriad of reasons you might take counseling. So if you could provide clarity on that question. But the next one's a good question too. So this is Steph Mayer. She asks, Will, what about a quick breathing technique to help calm anxiety when you're in a stressful situation at work or home? Something you need. Sometimes you need a quick fix to continue on with the day.
Great. That's a really, really good question and very, very important. So what mindfulness meditation, which we talked about a bit, I think, in our episode, and something that I'm very, very passionate about making sure everybody at least knows about so they have a chance to learn about it. It teaches you to be able to, once you get sufficiently practiced in it, wherever you are, you're able to slow your breathing down. You're able to pay attention to what you're actually doing, and you find your heart rate decreases, your stress level goes down, and you're able to just by paying more attention, you're able to lower your anxiety levels and your stress levels, and the cortisol and the adrenaline in your brain sort of lower, and you find yourself more able to be calm and to make slower, rational decisions. One really good way to activate this is, if you're seated in a chair, put both your feet on the ground so you can feel the points of contact through both of your feet. If you're wearing shoes, through your shoes, or if you're in stocking feet at home, you can feel the ground through your feet, and then just sit up nice and tall. And as you breathe in, think about not inhaling into your lungs and your throat, which is where a lot of people tend to breathe. That's especially when we're in anxiety, we kind of go, and you see your chest kind of goes up here and your neck kind of constricts backwards. It's actually a really bad way to take in air because you're kind of sending the message to your body to be tense. So if you put a hand on your belly and one hand on just under your collarbone, just breathe in and see if you can actively breathe into your bottom hand, the one that's on your belly. And breathe in through your nose. So as you're breathing in through your nose and then breathing out, you should try to feel almost all of the expansion and contraction in your bottom hand, in the hand that's on your belly. If you feel a lot of stuff going on in your top hand, then you know you're not quite breathing into the right place. So try to slow your breathing down and focus on expanding your belly as you breathe in and contracting your belly and pushing the air as you breathe out. This is also better as a public speaking thing and communication thing because that's where the diaphragm can access is when your belly expands, the diaphragm can lower, and that's what gives you a nicer, fuller, richer voice. So focusing on belly breathing like that and checking in with the hands is a really, really good way to not only calm down, but to have a nice, fuller, richer voice as you speak.
Super awesome advice.
Hope
It's
that
also
helps.
like
Yeah.
super helpful for singing too. Like basically, it's all diaphragm singing
Yeah.
if you're doing it right. And if
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
you
exactly.
if
As
you
as a
see
singer too,
that
David,
sings
you
from
know
his
that. Like
throat, you
when
know that
you're
guy's
singing up here, you don't get nearly the nice resonance as you can when you're using the diaphragm.
totally. If you see a guy that's got a lot of tense neck muscles, you know that's a singer that's
Yeah,
about to lose his voice in the
exactly.
short to middle term. So
Yeah,
okay, so Judy, on her question, she said just because Will took CBT, so is it? See, I think her question was with in regards to how do you convince someone to take counseling in regards to
yeah.
CBT.
I mean, I can't answer that as a mental health professional, but I can answer that from personal experience. So I've done both solo counseling and group counseling. What I found really useful with the group stuff was you get the feedback from other people who are on your side of the couch, so to speak. So people who are not mental health professionals who are going through similar issues that you are, and you start to hear a lot of the same thoughts and statements that you've had in your own head uttered by other people, and there's an immense therapeutic benefit to that. Hearing other people say, I'm feeling like this, I've had this problem, there's something really powerful about that. For me, I only found it useful for about 6 or 8 sessions, and then it actually kind of became counterproductive for the work that I was doing, so I stopped going. But those 6 sessions that I did go to were really helpful to see that there's other people from different walks of life, different ages, from different backgrounds, men and women, who are all going through and having these same thoughts. And that was pretty profound for me. And kind of, hearing that in a group setting was really powerful. But then for me, the next step of that was one-on-one, so I could really get into my own stuff, over the course of an hour-long or 50-minute session.
Cool.
And there's a link I can actually provide. That was the way that I found my current therapist, which is a very easy to use, user-friendly Ontario psychologist finder website, and I can give that to David, who can distribute it.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
guess my personal thoughts on it, obviously I'm no expert either, but I mean, encouraging someone, ultimately you can't control what someone else does. So if they choose to take counseling or not, it's ultimately kind of their decision.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit of a dangerous situation to care more about someone's kind of betterment than they do, right? You want to make
Yeah.
sure that you're not kind of enabling them sitting around. You want to be like, you can't be the only person pushing them in a direction, because that's just going to kind of foster a sense of helplessness and take away their agency in their own lives. So,
Yeah.
but it's a struggle we all have, right? It's like you got that brother-in-law or that cousin or that whatever, that friend that's
Yeah.
just like, dude, like, how are you still like doing that job that you've been doing for the last 10 years, or how are you still dating that girl or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And how do you inspire positive change? I think the best thing to do, honestly, is just like live your life as positively as you can. And if they actually ask for help, then you provide help. But I find if you're trying to push someone and you're the only one pushing them that direction,
Yeah.
it's so difficult. Whereas if if they show any sign of like, oh, I was thinking about doing this thing, be like, yeah, that's a great. Let me help you do it. Let's,
Yeah.
get behind that but you can't be the initiator on that stuff, I find.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing that in China they have a concept called mianzi, which is about, it basically translates to saving face. And often in business situations there, you have to kind of sometimes let your superior or whoever is seen as the superior in that situation pretend like it was their idea, at least in public. And just by doing that, just by saying like, oh yes, this was your idea all along, it can create a lot more a better situation where they feel like they came up with it. And that the same is true actually for a friend who may need some help, is allowing them to have the idea and feel like it came from them is a lot more powerful than kind of pushing them, which they'll inevitably drag their heels and resist against.
Yeah, I think human beings are natural authority resistors, as
Yeah.
as we're seeing right now. So, anyways, Will, once again, thanks so much for your time. It's been a pleasure having you on the show.
Yeah.
Lots of helpful
Well,
information.
thank you for having me.
Yeah.
And thanks for asking questions, everyone who did and
Yeah.
listening.
Okay. Cool. So, we're gonna take sign up for the night. Tomorrow night is all request night, and then Saturday night we have an epic mystery guest. So tune in for that. And thanks for tuning in to episode 8. We'll see you again real soon. Thanks for your time, Will.
No problem. Bye.
Okay. Good night, everyone.